In tonight's headlines, government rejects claims that it is breaking its promise of freezing the civil service headcount. China's factory activity picks up for the first time in 6 months.
Amid massive budget deficits, the government has maintained zero growth in civil service headcount since the 2021-22 financial year. But the Oriental Daily is accusing authorities of playing a numbers game. In a front-page story, the newspaper suggested the government has been circumventing the rule by creating supernumerary or time-limited posts. It said that 188 directorate posts were approved by the Legislative Council in the past 5 years. Even though the number of directorate posts accounts for less than 1% of the overall establishment, they create a heavy financial burden to taxpayers. According to the Civil Service Bureau, directorate officers earn anywhere between $159,000 and $320,000 per month. In response, the Bureau said its zero growth goal does not mean that specific departments cannot seek extra manpower. As new posts are created, existing ones will be deleted, a spokesman emphasized. In fact, the establishment has shrunk by 2,000 since March 2021, despite the continuous increase in public services. The government will create 8 permanent and time-limited directorate posts this year and retain another 3. That is a significant drop from the 38 posts last year, the spokesman added. Janice Low, Cable News. The government has been pushing hard to lure tech professionals and enterprises to Hong Kong as it plans to transform the SAR into an innovation and technology hub. Many of those who heeded the call have since set up shop at the Science Park in Sha Tin. Taking to the airwaves this morning, Albert Wong, chief executive of the corporation which manages the park, revealed that the area is now home to 1,700 companies and 20,000 staff. Around 13,000 workers are engaged in research and development. But Wong says that is far from enough, as firms are desperately looking to increase their headcount with more than 1,000 job openings at any given time. He also revealed that the corporation is taking some of the entrepreneurs to the United States next month. Called Innovation Mixer, shortlisted participants will spend half a year in the West Coast with the opportunity to seek investors and develop new product ideas. Wong said competition for the outreach program is fierce. Only 5 out of more than 70 applicants would be selected. Meanwhile, the head of the park's Talent and Human Resources Department, Fanny Wong, noted that incoming professionals were not really concerned about the recent legislation of the Domestic National Security Law.
In fact, they are more concerned about having more development in Hong Kong, their career development, their learning experience, especially Hong Kong is an international city. They want to have more background about their Orient culture and also the mixture between Hong Kong and other places.
She emphasized they're in good hands at the Science Park, and Hong Kong will provide ample opportunities to help them connect with the world. Janice Low, Cable News.
China's factory activity expanded for the first time in 6 months, giving policymakers some much-needed relief. The official Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, rebounded to 50.8 in March, up 1.7 points from February. A reading above 50 suggests an expansion from the previous month, while a figure below that denotes contraction. The March reading exceeded forecasts and was the highest since March last year. The National Bureau of Statistics said that 15 out of the 21 surveyed sectors were in expansion territory, compared to just 10 from the previous month, as enterprises ramped up production after the Lunar New Year holiday. Breaking down the PMI components, the production index accelerated to 52.2 in March, up from 49.8 the previous month. New orders even rose 4 points to 53, led by demand for digital and telecom parts, railway and shipping components, and home furniture. The non-manufacturing PMI rose to 53, improving for the fourth consecutive month and reaching the highest level since June last year. The postal, broadcast, and financial services industries all recorded strong growth with readings of above 60. Construction activity also picked up in March, reporting a reading of 56.2, up 2.7 from February. In the latest round of Israeli airstrikes, a bomb landed in a car park outside Al-Aqsa Hospital in central Gaza. Al Jazeera correspondents on the ground said that Israeli forces targeted a tent for journalists. 2 Palestinians have been killed and a number of journalists were injured. Over at Al-Shifa Hospital north of the enclave, more than 400 patients, healthcare staff, and refugees have been killed during an ongoing Israeli siege, which has entered a 14th day. But Israel countered that claim, saying its soldiers had clashed with a number of Hamas leaders and militants inside the hospital. Israel insisted their troops were only in Gaza to eradicate Hamas and keep peace. But locals told Al Jazeera that Israeli forces have been opening fire on civilians waiting for aid supplies in central Gaza. More than 32,000 Palestinians have perished since the conflict began nearly half a year ago, while millions more are in dire need of food and water. The United States continued to airdrop food and humanitarian supplies into the besieged enclave. It's also getting help from its NATO allies, as well as Singapore and Jordan.
The tons of aid that's dropped every day varies on the day. Today, for the C-17s only, we dropped over 100,000 pounds of aid into Gaza. The totals are well into the almost 1 million pounds of aid that we have dropped total.
But the dense environment in Gaza has made airdrops very difficult and potentially lethal for civilians on the ground.
We are flying as low as we can to provide a more accurate solution. We have a very complex computer system that looks at the winds, looks at the weight of the bundles, looks at the altitude we'll be flying, and calculates the precise spot where the bundles will be dropped in a circle of safety, more or less.
But for many Palestinians, their only hope is a ceasefire, be it temporary or permanent. The foreign ministers of Egypt, France, and Jordan held talks in Cairo in the latest effort to end the bloodshed. They called for an immediate truce, as well as the release of captives held by Hamas. Raymond Yang, Cable News.
Pope Francis seemed to be in good spirits as he presided over Mass on Easter Sunday. More than 30,000 people attended the traditional outdoor service in St. Peter's Square in Vatican City. The health of the 87-year-old pontiff has been under the spotlight after he skipped a Good Friday procession. The Vatican insisted the decision was to preserve his health for the most sacred day on the Catholic calendar. Meeting well-wishers and believers from around the world, Francis made a strong appeal to end the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. After the service, the Holy Father hopped into the Pope Mobile to greet the faithful across the square.